Welcome back to Skippers, presented by Owners Box Fantasy Sports. Today, we're going to give you 6 pitchers that we think are undervalued, someone to target in the late rounds based on their average draft positions. We're joined by a very, very special guest, founder of Pitchers List. You can follow him on Twitter at Pitcher List. And the most perfect guest we could figure out for this segment. Thanks for joining us, Nick Pollack.
Oh man, it is an honor to be here. I'm looking forward to this. I'm just intimidated by your room, Avery.
Oh my goodness.
It's a lot. I mean, you've got some Randy Johnson there with the D-backs. You've got someone. I'm going to guess that's like Raleigh Fingers.
No, you'd be really disappointed to find out who it is. It's Kyler Murray.
That is not disappointing. That's actually pretty awesome. That's where he should have gone.
Absolutely, 100%.
You know.
So just to preface this, Nick, you're gonna go first. We chose guys with an ADP over 250 for our late round targets. We want to go too high, but think 250 was a pretty good spot. So Nick, your first player.
Yeah, there were a couple ones I was considering, but you put the 250, and I mean, I don't know how I should feel. Like, I thought Domingo Germán would still be past the 250, and now I've seen him underneath it. And on one side, I'm really upset because I can't just now throw him on all these lists. On the other side, I'm proud of everyone because Domingo Germán should be drafted around even 200, if you ask me. So he's not on it, but Mike Minor is. And there are a couple of reasons why. One, he was throwing sub 91 last year, around 90.6 miles per hour. Spring, it's 92 to 94. And think to yourself right now, since 2017, when he came back and was on the Royals, think how many seasons has Mike Minor had a 125 whip or worse? And the answer is 0. Not even last year. It was 124 last year, 124 in 2019, 112 in 2018. And he had 200 strikeouts in 2019. Like, this is a good pitcher here who's also increased his velocity. That's a very good sign. 11+% swing strike rates the past 2 seasons. I also like to think that his changeup gets better when he has that higher velocity. It wasn't as good last year. He compensated with a slider that overperformed. And I just see good things here for Minor in Kansas City. That should actually be a decent offense for him. He gets the Rangers first. The Rangers are not a good offense. They're like one of the worst ones out there. And if you're in a 12-teamer and you're thinking, I want to be drafting guys that I'm starting right away, well, Mike Minor can earn you a win in that opening weekend. That's exactly the kind of play you want to make late in your draft. So Mike Minor is my first choice.
That's a big revenge game. I like that pick. And we look at your rankings on your website. The profile picture is Mike Minor right now. So like when you chose that pick, I was excited for that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't, we like to think like, oh, he had a 5.56 ERA, so whatever. I mean, it was 2020 when he threw 56 innings, and he's throwing harder now. And yeah, we have to have like an approach of thinking, oh, right, guys change very quickly, and we got to have short memories in fantasy baseball because things can change quickly, and Minor should be a lot better than last year.
And it's the older guys too that kind of struggled last year, the routine and stuff like that. So take it with a grain of salt. I love that pick. Jerry, your guy?
Yeah, so this pick might make more sense now to Nick that he finds out we're from Canada. I picked Robbie Ray from the Blue Jays. This guy, there's you look at the stats, and yes, he was terrible last year. People were just crushing him. I mean, a 30% barrel percentage opponents were hitting. Like, that's just insane. I didn't even know that was possible. That's so high. But he is an elite strikeout pitcher. I mean, you saw back-to-back 30+ strikeout percentage, and everyone's kind of buzzing around him. This guy's looking really good in spring. He's now with the Jays for a full season coming up. That leads to my question to you, Nick. Obviously, he's not in your top 100. What have you seen this spring, and have you been getting bugged about potentially getting Robbie Ray slipping into that top 100 list?
It's so tempting, isn't it? Like, he's the opposite of what you think from a normal guy named R&R. Like, it is not relaxation whatsoever with Robbie Ray. It's a lot of stress because, I mean, he's not had a walk rate under 10% since 2016. And that was a major problem last year. Could not find the zone. He changed his arm angle, shorted it up. I got excited because, Robbie Ray is doing something new. And that means he's changing. And that's a good thing. We need him to change. And it changed in the wrong direction. So then he went from Arizona to Toronto. And Toronto was like, good, look, just go back to your old arm circle, whatever. We'll figure it out from there. And the news so far in spring is that he's throwing more strikes. And that's a very important thing. I mean, it's harder to walk guys when you throw a lot of strikes. I don't know if it's going to stick, though. And it's one of those things where, as I'm looking at my draft, like Mike Minor gets the Rangers, I feel comfortable right away. I feel with Robbie Ray, we won't feel comfortable soon enough. So if I'm in a 12-teamer, am I going to start Robbie Ray the first weekend? Probably not. That's like terrifying, right? And you'd have to wait, I think, a couple starts to actually feel comfortable, and that's the reason why Ray's out. But I love this pick. This could happen. It finally could be there. You're not wrong. Like 30% strikeout rates are there. And again, we need to kind of forget what he was in 2020. Maybe he's someone new finally.
Yeah.
I really hope he is, but I have to, I can't throw him into the water quite yet.
Well, if he gets into those rankings, Jeremy and I will be very happy.
Yeah.
We'll tweet that. Definitely. We'll take a screenshot and tweet it.
All right. I'll get into my guy. Undervalued late round target, ADP of 364. He's been picking up a lot of steam recently, kind of in the community. Yusei Kikuchi of the Seattle Mariners. On the surface, terrible numbers in 2020. But I kind of dove a little deeper to see if there's some things to be optimistic about in 2021, and I think there is. So 2020, 5.17 ERA, but a 3.30 FIP. Added 2.5 miles an hour on his four-seam fastball. Replaces curveball for a cutter. He was the most improved pitcher for in-zone whiffs in the MLB. And no other starter in the majors had more pitches in the strike zone called balls than Yusei Kikuchi by almost 4 points. I mean, he increased his strikeout rate as well from 16.1% to 24.2%. I mean, I think he made some big strides last year, and it was just negated by some bad luck. Nick, you have him ranked 88th in your top 100. Your thoughts on Kikuchi this year?
Man, I love this. I love all those stats you're saying too about whips in the zone. That's such an important one. And very impressed, Avery. I don't know if you follow the list. I have a giant ego with this stuff. I feel like everyone remembers every single word I ever put out. Obviously not.
We'll say we're new to the fantasy sports space. We're big baseball guys, but we're new. So
that's awesome. Well, you don't seem like you're new, which is great. But essentially what happened was, so I do the list every single Monday through the year, right? The top 100, put them out every Monday. And after I think the second round, so essentially it's August 1st, and I think it was a Friday, whatever. Kikuchi throws this amazing start, 9 strikeouts across 6 innings against Oakland. It's just beautiful. His cutter that we were wondering about, he had increased velocity last year, as you mentioned, and we're like, is he going to put it together? That cutter got all these whiffs. I was just like, oh my God. So I put him at 55 because that's like the upside category. Like, hey, it's early in the season. This is like 10% of the season already done. We might want to go after Kikuchi now. Next 2 starts, he allows 9 earned runs total, which is higher than his 8 strikeouts across the next 2 starts. And everyone just gets their pitchforks and yells at me, understandably so. But it's one of those cases where I know the ceiling is there. Like we saw glimpses of it. And the question with Kikuchi is, are we going to get that consistency? When he's on, it's 4-seamers up at 95, 96.
Yeah.
As we've seen even in the spring so far, is 95, 96 from Kikuchi, which is so exciting. And then those cutters going down, sliders underneath that too. It can be great. The biggest knock against Kikuchi is that the Mariners have a really rough schedule to start the year.
Yeah.
And this is, you're going to hear this a lot from me of the upside guys I'm going for. I want ones that have favorable schedules if possible so that I don't get as demolished taking a chance on them if I do, right? You don't want to waste your bench spot in a 12-teamer, especially in April, because they're so valuable to get in on the exciting guys. What's going to happen is you have Kikuchi, and you're not going to want to start him against Houston, for example. And meanwhile, you're going to see some guy you didn't even think twice about have an amazing start, and you're just stuck there being like, do I do anything or not? And in most cases, I think you might actually be swapping Kikuchi for that, which is why I'm out. But I wouldn't be shocked if Kikuchi figures this out, especially in the last 4 months of the season or so. So I like the pick. I mean, I hope so. I just want every pitcher to be dope.
I mean, his second and third starts seemed like my D2 college stats right there. Just terrible numbers. So.
Oh, look at you, D2.
Yeah, I mean, it's not D1,
D3.
but it happened.
D3 for me. So you got me beat.
All right, Nick, you're a second guy.
I mean, I think this is someone who, honestly, if he had signed back in November, he would be higher in ADP now. This is generally what happens. I think with Charlie Morton too, for a while, he wasn't raising an ADP because we didn't know if he was going to retire yet. And then we had this remnant of low ADP totals because of that uncertainty. But when he got drafted, we looked at that old ADP and it kind of messed with our consciousness, right? We were thinking like, oh, well, why is it low and stuff?
Mhm.
Because he wasn't signed at the time. Well, Jake Odorizzi's signed now in an amazing situation, like the perfect spot for him in Houston, because they need all the innings they can get from Jake Odorizzi. A big thing past in Minnesota was that they would pull him like after 5 innings. I mean, he threw 30 starts and 160 innings. Like, wait, hold on. I'm doing the math in my head. That's well underneath 6 innings per start. And Houston's going to say, no, 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 this is totally fine. Just keep going out there. And the thing is, when you have guys that have like are normally pulled after 3, it's because they don't have faith in their secondary stuff to really carry them. That's fine with Odorizzi because his fastball is just so good. He can keep throwing the same pitch at the top of the zone. We're seeing 15% swing strike rates on his four-seamer and sinker back in 2019 when he was last healthy. It's an amazing recipe that is, in my view, immune to this lack of secondary stuff. Look at Brandon Woodruff as a prime example, someone that can carve out innings, just pumping fastballs effectively. Odorizzi can do that in Houston, and I think out of the gate, you're going to get good volume from Odorizzi with those good fastballs up. For a successful offense, honestly, in Houston, that's a good team still, even though you don't have George Springer. Altuve should rebound, so should Alex Bregman. I think the Odorizzi can help every 12-teamer out there, so make sure you're targeting him at the end of your drafts.
So I got a question for you. He's scheduled to start tomorrow. We're recording on Tuesday. What's the thing you want to see kind of from Jake Odorizzi to think he's going to be successful this year and start tomorrow?
Just locate fastballs up. I mean, if you ever go on Baseball Savant's game feed, which I highly recommend. I mean, once I discovered that in 2017, it was like Christmas Day. You'll see that with Jake Odorizzi, he paints the top of the zone red. That's red is for four-seamers in Savant's thing. It's like, he's he's PETA trying to throw some paint on some fur, like how red he wants that top of the strike zone to be. And if it's scattered, that's bad Odorizzi. And if he's kind of still there, you might be a little more hesitant, but I have a good feeling that he's going to be painting the top of the zone red a lot.
Love that. Jerry, your guy?
Yeah. So I'm going to, up Tampa here. Ryan Yarbrough ranges around 250. I think the biggest thing with him is, the question marks with this Tampa team and how they utilize their pitchers and what's it going to be like with Snell and Morton gone now. Yarbrough kind of slides into like, is he the SB2 on this team? Like, is it crazy to say that? But I mean, you kind of worry, okay, can he go deep into games? He's very efficient. It seems like no one can hit him hard. I know he doesn't throw hard. And I believe, Nick, does he even throw a fastball? I don't even think he does.
Well, he throws a cutter. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the Kyle Hendricks situation, right?
Yeah, completely agree. And, he had 3 quality starts in 9 starts last year, which is pretty good for a guy who, you don't expect to go deep into games. So we picked him up, Avery and I, in our FSGA league pretty late. We thought it was good, but what are your thoughts on him? You have him ranked at 87th right now. What do you expect from him this year?
Well, do you remember, first of all, I call him the Fratty Pirate because he's Yarbrough. But do you remember him from 2019? So at the end of May, he had the 7-inning start, 7.1 innings against Cleveland. And we're like, whoa, this is kind of nuts. He went 7.1 innings. The Rays are ready to kind of let him loose. This is going to be great. The very next game he pitched in was 5 days later against Toronto in relief for 3.2 innings. And we're like, what? Well, Tampa, what's going on? And then the next start, he gets 7 innings and also 7 earned runs. And it's just like this madness. Like, what do we do? We don't know. And he had this like back and forth. Like he certainly has that kind of repertoire. It's very crafty and can get through those innings, right? And I do like this pick because he might, I think he is the number 2 in Tampa Bay. And like Odorizzi, they're going to rely on Yarbrough to do that. Archer's going to have question marks. How many innings are they going to get out of Rich Hill?
Yeah.
And then Michael Wacha? No. Luis Patino, that'd be awesome. But this is Tampa Bay, and they're not going to let him just go carve up innings himself. So they're going to be relying on Yarbrough. And I hope this is the season that they do go a full 6 with him. And I will also mention, like, even if you want to talk about maybe the ERA probably being over 4 as opposed to the 3.56 that he had last season, WHIP has never been above 1.3, and that's good. That's kind of like the barometer for me. If I have a starter on my team and he doesn't have a WHIP that's below 1.3, I just don't want this. It's pulling your team down. It was a clear 1 in 2019, 119 in 2020. He's a bit lacking in strikeouts, and I don't think we're gonna ever see that change. But look, he's a decent ratio guy, and if you think you need to get those innings later on, and you need some sort of stability like that, sure, Friday Pirate can be that.
Love that. All right, I'll go my second guy. I mean, he's another lefty. I was a left-handed pitcher. I will only take left-handed pitchers. I
You
love
just
them.
make me more jealous as you go, Avery. Oh man.
So my guy, Trevor Rogers of the Miami Marlins, ADP's 455. Last year, only 7 starts, 28 innings in those starts, gave him 19 earned runs, 13 guys he walked, but he had 39 strikeouts. I mean, the strikeout rate's incredible. Can he maintain that? Probably not. But I mean, the upside's there for strikeout rate. His changeup, which is bread and butter out pitch as well. If you look at it, 23.6 swinging strike rate, and a 36.4% strikeout rate. Hitters hit just 161 against it, but he only threw it 18% of the time. I mean, he has a pretty mediocre slider and curveball. So I think maybe like a look into his pitch mix might help him out a little bit. Nick, you have Rogers as the 94th ranked pitcher, but he's got that cherry bomb badge attached to him. What are your thoughts on Trevor Rogers this season?
Yeah, he's a bit of a cherry bomb. We don't really know if he's going to be someone who can be consistent quite for your team. Like there's certainly a ceiling here, right? That we got really excited about last year. We saw that 10 strikeout performance against the Rays, but I just don't know if he has that quite yet. The good news is there's nothing else for Miami to turn to. I actually thought they were going to get someone like Odorizzi, maybe even be a dark horse candidate for Kluber if Kluber wasn't impressive in his workouts. But I mean, Edward Cabrera, who we're all excited about, well, he's kind of hurt right now with the biceps injury. He hasn't started throwing in the spring. So there's no one else. You're not going to throw Ross Detweiler like in Miami. It's going to be Trevor Rogers, which is very, very interesting. I like his changeup. I like the fact that he can throw 95 or so, which is great things from the left side, as you mentioned. I want to see that slider develop more. It's just a question of, do you want to trust this quite yet in a 12-teamer? I probably wouldn't. But we're talking about the deep guys, and you're talking about 15-teamers, and you're trying to scour the wire early. The Marlins have an interesting schedule to begin the year. It's likely the Cardinals, followed by the Braves, and then the Giants twice for Rogers. I think I'm okay with 3 out of 4. I don't want to start him against Atlanta, but maybe the other 3. But I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that Cardinals start. I think like Arenado and Goldschmidt are really good. It's just it's a weird area of discomfort. But hey, there's a lot of hype around Rogers. I understand why. It's a very good changeup, good fastball, and hopefully that slider can pan out.
Well, appreciate that, Nick. One last question for you. One guy you're predicting for a big breakout this year.
Oh man, there's so many. They're all so great. I'll
They're
stay
so
with
fun.
I like. It's interesting. Over the years, like, you just fall in love with like everyone, you know. Like there's a reason why every single player is a major leaguer.
Yeah.
And once you understand that, then you just think everyone can be a breakout, right? Sandy Alcantara, I'll stay with Miami. I think this is the year of him. I think he's going to get like 180 to 200 innings. I think he has such a good fastball at singer. And all he needs is his changeup or his slider working on a given day to be successful. And if it's both, then it's just lights out completely. His teammate Pablo Lopez, I mean, I've been talking to him. He's changing his curveball to be more of a slider, which can't wait for that because he has such a good changeup and really good fastball command. Tyone is underrated still, and I'm gonna keep preaching that name until people recognize how good Jameson Tyone is. And I guess the last one, I know it's typical of me, but I can't quit Matthew Boyd. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
He had the 6th highest swing strike rate on changeups among starters last year, and that includes Jonathan Loaisiga, which doesn't really count. And he didn't have a slider last year, and he was hurt. If he gets that slider back, which is what made him a 30% strikeout guy in 2019, with that new changeup, it might be very, very dangerous for AL Central batters. So those are my guys I'm thinking of right now.
Well, we love it. Nick, thank you very much for coming on. Jared, any final notes?
No, I think it was awesome having you on, Nick. It was great to get your insight on pitchers, and Avery and I really appreciate it.
Oh man, it was touching that you guys thought of me. This is great, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you guys next time.